Who do you have?
I am here. It's hard to hear. I'm here with Natasha. Natasha, stand up, please. In from Australia. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, I flew here. It took about 18 hours, and it's great to be here.
Well, we're thrilled that you're here, and we've all been talking about it since we found out, so thank you. But you have a question.
Yes, I'm just wondering whether you think the worst correction has taken place so far for the year.
That's a fair question. I'm going to throw that to Dan Nathan in terms of correction, where we are now and for the rest of the year, Dan.
Well, Guy, we've been talking about this. There seems like billionaire hedge fund investor after billionaire hedge fund investor have suggested we're going to go back and test those prior lows from April. When you think about this, when you think about the potential for a recession, Elon Musk, also a billionaire, he's suggesting that there's a good chance that we have a recession in the back half of the year. The thing about the stock market, it kind of sniffs it out one way or another. And we're not there just yet. We're within, striking distance of the prior all-time high. So I think you can probably take cues from the market a little bit, see where the leadership is going. Right now, it seems like there's a lot of groups that have been acting pretty well away from big cap tech. If you start to see them weaken, that might be pricing in a recession. That said, if we do have a recession, if you do have a retest of that 4850 in the S&P 500, it probably makes a lot of sense to start thinking long-term and start dollar cost averaging into what might be another bull run for the market in the years ahead.
Karen's in from Washington, D.C., one of my favorite cities in the country. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
You got a question, please.
I do have a question. I wanted to find out about Nike. Should I invest more or should I bail?
I'm going to throw that to Tim Seymour. He's the Nike expert on the panel. Tim Seymour, Nike.
Well, let's just do it here, Karen. Thanks for coming. First of all, it's great having everybody here. And it's interesting. We're going to talk about Lululemon later on in this show, down 20% at last look. The impact for Nike, you could make an argument it's not just a Lulu story. It could be discretionary. It could be athleisure. Nike down about 3% after hours. I love Nike here. So let's just be clear. I think there is some discretionary spend. There's some concern. I think the concern about the competitive landscape overdone. I think if you saw some of that share loss by Hoka, I think, Guy, you have Hoka's on right now. Deckers had, they had poor numbers. Nike's revalued a lot. I think you've priced in a lot of negativity, and I think this company is getting ready for a multi-year expansion.
All right. Before I go to Christopher, I'm going to call BS on that. And everybody in here, you can see I'm actually wearing shoes. So everybody give Guy Adami a round of applause for not wearing Hoka's. Exactly. Chris is in from the great state of Texas. Chris.
Yeah, tiny little dot there on your map. And I just want to first, being that we're each former football players, I think you probably must have been a DB, obviously offensive line for myself. I did read something about the 104-yard interception.
That's a long time ago, Chris. That's a long time ago.
Come on. But basically what I want to know is I've been a long-term holder of a Home Depot, solid dividend, just like a good family member. Mm-hmm. But what I'm wondering is, do I stick with it or do I move on to something, maybe a faster grower like Costco?
I think that's a great question. And you know who's well suited to answer that? The great Karen Feinerman. Home Depot, Karen.
So I'm long Home Depot. I have not been long Costco. I always found that to be too expensive, and that was the wrong move. Home Depot, I think, is a great company. We want rates to be lower. It was an interesting story we did yesterday about how much home equity lines people are taking out of their homes, and I think a lot of that will be going to Home Depot, so staying long there.